You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also visit our home on the web. Just go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the program's link. If you missed the live show, you can listen to the show's archives on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, and many more, including our home on Spreaker. When a disaster happens, are you ready? Do you have the supplies you need to keep you and your family safe and survive? The Zombie Outpost store in Wilmington, Ohio, at Cedar Creek Flea Market, stocks quality gear you need to be ready for the next emergency or even a camping trip. Visit zombieoutpoststore.com for location and hours. Check out our assortment of essentials you need when the next disaster happens. Go to zombieoutpoststore.com. Get 10% off at checkout when you mention Are You Ready Radio. Be ready and be prepared.
In this digital society, making connections is quickly becoming a lost art form. Yet, if you are a small business owner, building your network is the only way you can get ahead. Can these skills be learned? You bet they can. Read Nose to Nose Networking. No nonsense, in-person networking tips from a master. Who's the master? Well, who better to teach networking and friend-building skills than a golden retriever? The author, Melanie Hope, takes the antics of Abigail and translates them into the human experience. Through Abby, you will learn how to set your intention, build a network, and get into and out of conversations with grace. If you love the Dog Abby segments on Counterculture-Wise Radio, you will love Nose to Nose Networking even more. Find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hard copy, Kindle, and Nook. Visit counterculturewise.com for direct links.
Greetings and salutations, Counterculture-Wise listeners. This is Maximilian von Riegelbieser inviting you and yours to listen to me and mine. Join me, my sisters Abby and Fritzy, and my weekly guests, my father Jim and Mumsy Melanie, for Counterculture-Wise.
Max, it's not your show!
And we're not your guests, Max. We're the hosts. You may want to rein it in a little bit, buddy.
Very well. Tune in every Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific at counterculturewise.com for our amazing live variety show. You can even chat with us. If you ask me, though, it should be called Counterculture Max.
Counterculture Wise! Radio with heart in mind.
Got a spare tire around that waist? Is your muffin top over the top? Do you binge eat uncontrollably? We are the government and we are here to help you. Here at our free FEMA weight loss camp, we have numerous ways to help you shed those unsightly, unwanted pounds. FEMA, or Fatties Eating Mitigated, automatically has a communist-style weight loss czar that specializes in centralized weight loss planning and communal extended fasting programs to shed that fat away in no time. Skin and boned means extra toned is the motto. Just remember, there is no way you can do it on your own. We will forcefully assist you into compliance. Failure is not an option in this utopian wonderland. How fantastic. Typical workout regimes include digging ditches and restocking them with dirt, building railways and more. Get life skills while you get lean. How do you join? Simple. Recite the Constitution in a public commons, or violate the Patriot Act that includes simple misdemeanors. It's really that easy to get your own fenced-in slice of Americana. Stop being a fatty. The state is your daddy.
If you like what you are listening to, we appreciate your support. A small contribution from you, the listeners, can continue to help bring you such content and help keep things going here, even if it's just $1 a month. Keep in mind, though, in the spirit of prepping, we believe in redundancy, so it's better to have more than one, but every little bit helps pay the bills. Go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the Support the Show link. You can make a one-time or monthly contribution in any dollar amount. And again, thank you for your support and listening. Are You Ready is an NP Media Group production and is the official broadcast of the Zombie Outpost in Wilmington, Ohio. The views and opinions expressed during this broadcast are those of the host and not that of the station, advertisers, or its affiliates. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. You never know when an emergency is going to happen. Disaster can strike at any time. Whether stuck on the road, riding out a power outage, escaping a natural disaster, or surviving a doomsday apocalypse, what would you do? No matter the scale, whether 1 hour or 1 year, will you survive? You're about to hear what it takes to be prepared. Now ask yourself, are you ready? Have you ever heard the term prepper? What comes to mind? Some of you may think it's a crazy guy with a bomb shelter and an old army truck parked on the front lawn. Well, prepper simply is a person who is ready for almost any emergency, small or large. You see, it's no different than on a rainy day taking an umbrella with you when you leave your home or putting a coat on when it's cold outside. So maybe you think you're prepared for a brief time in that environment. But what if a few minutes turn into a day or even a year? I'm your host, Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper, and I'm going to use my over 25 years of prepping and survival experience and knowledge in this program to help you prepare, you and your family, to handle almost anything from a small event to a doomsday apocalypse. So get ready, because I'm prepared to enlighten you to seriously think, prepare, and answer the question, are you ready? And I'm sure everybody's heard the term zombies. Well, those really are just those that come after whatever you have because they don't. Again, I want to hear anything you have to say about the subject. It's important that we share our knowledge with each other, learn from each other, and help each other out. And if you want, you can join the call-in number, 513-815-6336. Again, that's 513-815-6336. If you want to be a part of the show, you can also check out our live chat room on Spreaker.com. That's Spreaker.com. You can chat with us during the broadcast. And I also post exclusive content on the home of Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram. Just go to Are You Ready Radio. And you can interact with other members of the prepping community before, during, and after the broadcast. So don't forget, share your knowledge. And, of course, just drop me a line. Tell me how much you love or hate the show. Now, in this episode, I'm going to elaborate on and really dive into the topic I have covered before on the program. For those of you that may have heard, and if not, go ahead and check it out after the broadcast. Don't go anywhere. You got to stay here until this is over. And then will be a great time to listen to the episode if you didn't hear it. Where there is no police. I believe that's the name of it, whatever I called it. I could look it up here, actually. Let's see. I'll find it for you. Oh, yes. It aired on June 8th of this year, 2022. Just search the archives and you'll find it there. When the Police Don't Show Up is actually the name of it. But this one's going to be special because we discussed what how to handle a situation, emergency, stuff like that when there are no police, which was the whole point of that episode. But what if you become the police? What if you end up to be the neighborhood patrol? And that's what this episode's about. Yes. I have a special guest in the studio tonight. His name is Maverick, and he's going to be with me here because we are actually the Neighborhood Watch. I'm going to bring him on in just a second. See, the fit hit the shan, and it can at any moment for you folks too, and you really need to be ready and be able to deal with it. Suck it up and get rid of the BS that may come your way. And I should not just say come your way, but I should say your community's way. Your neighbor's way. And I'm not talking about some scumbag dealership, White Allen, Dayton, but about protecting the neighborhood when the cops are not able to deal with the neighborhood scumbags that are there. Yes, this episode is going to be about the Neighborhood Watch alongside when there are no police. What can you do? And like I said, tonight I have a special guest in the studio with me. We're going to bring him on here in just a moment, probably the next few minutes. And this episode was really inspired and based on not just the reality most of you may be dealing with, but on a reality both of us are dealing with right now. So here we go. As many listeners are expecting, I will also give a legal spin on the topic, such as the difference and breakdown between civil versus criminal versus actionable, speculation, conspiracy, and reality, and all that. And that you're going to get a good take on that as we begin to discuss the topic with you this evening. But what is a neighborhood watch? I mean, really, a neighborhood watch is just a program that you put together. It's a group of people living in the same area who want to make their neighborhood safer and work together and in conjunction with law enforcement to reduce crime and improve their quality of life. And I want to discuss, some of the benefits of why you may want to put together a neighborhood watch. And, it's really a great partnership with law enforcement and your neighbors. It really does help reduce crime because criminals are not comfortable when people are watching them. And, of course, the more secure and better prepared, makes your hometown much better. It also really builds a more united community and really communication between the neighbors. So I know you don't want to hear me talk for the next hour and a half by myself, especially when I have a guest in the studio. So I would like to bring in my neighbor, special guest and good friend, Maverick. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much. And good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Yep, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're listening to us. If you're listening on this platform live or you're listening on any of our affiliate platforms that rebroadcast the show. And so here we are. We have our situation going on, and that's what brings you in the studio this evening because, we're going to get out there as soon as we're done because, of course, we know that when the sun starts going down, the scumbags start coming out. And we've been dealing with this now for a couple weeks, ever since some new neighbors moved in, and it has been high traffic central, and boy, do we have some funny stories for you as well.
Yeah, but would you really call it scumbags? Wouldn't you really call it zombies, really?
Tweaker zombies. Tweaker zombies, yes. And it's great because, zombies are just those that come after whatever you have because they don't know. Exactly. These are tweaker zombies. It's like a different form of zombie, it seems. Yeah. And they wander around
doing their own patrols through your windows.
Yeah, they patrol through your window and looking around to see what you got and if they can get in and what they can get from you and all that. And quite an interesting few weeks we've had. The cops have been the neighbors for the other building for probably 4 out of 7 days last week alone.
Yeah, if that, yeah.
Oh boy, and we laugh about it, but man, we don't want to knock the police department, and they know we're on their side, and they appreciate us being out here, but we got some funny stories for you about that too.
Oh yeah, can't wait to tell them about the gas one.
The gas. Where's the other cop? We put gas in the tank. We'll get to that story here in a little bit.
Trust me, it's worth a listen.
Why don't we talk about maybe some of the steps, maybe creating a neighborhood watch? We just organically formed. There was no, we came up with an action plan and just kind of, had some meetings and, hung a sign up that says neighborhood watch.
Right.
We just organically, in the middle of one of our just hanging outs, as things started to escalate and become a disaster, we just kind of did it. You're a pretty ready man and always, very vigilant as well. And you have a good eye, and we are very situational aware just as, individuals. So we just kind of, it happened. It literally took a few minutes to really pull it together and say, yep, we're both doing this. But a lot of times people may not have that organic formation of their neighborhood watch. So there's really 5 steps to it. And recruiting and organizing as many neighbors as possible is probably the most important thing because you want to make sure that neighbors are aware and they want to take steps. And the larger your group is, the easier it is. So really the first steps to take would be, get your neighbors involved. And make sure, regardless of how ridiculous your law enforcement department is, contact them. maybe schedule a meeting with them. Sometimes when stuff happens like it did with us, I mean, we were just hanging out.
Oh, yeah.
And the police are just kind of there and asking if we seen these people, and, you know, all this stuff was going on one day. And, you know, we were just there. They approached us. And there was no hesitation. We said, oh, I'm always out here. You're always out here. We're always hanging out. And we'll keep an eye out. I mean, that was that.
Oh, yeah.
But when law enforcement doesn't contact you, really, it's just a matter of, you know, schedule a meeting with them. Make sure they're aware of what you're doing. And vice versa. That's kind of had me a little miffed last night, which we're going to get into. The cops are never around when you need them, but communication is key.
It's pretty much every time you need the law enforcement, whether you're driving your vehicle down the road or whether you see somebody acting a fool in a store, or even if you're just sitting there watching traffic go by at a bonfire and you just see some random people just come into your apartment building that don't belong there.
Yeah, and, you know, I mean, the cops need to be aware of what you're doing. You should be aware of what the cops are doing, and we're going to get into that, too. That was insane. Stupidity. Yeah, on their half. You know, and of course, I mean, we discussing community concerns is something that the neighbors want to do. In this case, the cops brought it to our attention. We spoke to them, and but for those of you, you know, that are starting your own little neighborhood watch group, you know, if law enforcement is unavailable to come to the first meeting, you might just want to take that time to meet and discuss the concerns and issues with the neighbors, and see, you know, your group, you know, should create a plan on how to work towards lessening the impact of, you know, whatever the top 3 concerns of the neighborhood are. I mean, in our case, it's, you know, not like the same concerns that other neighborhoods have. And then, of course, creating the community plan, and then, of course, taking action. So that's pretty much the 5 steps there, and I'll post all those on the Facebook group. And I don't know, Mike, your experiences so far, your stories, your take on how this whole thing happened. I'd like to hear your side of it, because I know what my side is. And my listeners probably know. It's like, yeah.
So that also begs the question: is what situation are we going to talk about? Are we going to talk about the initial one that began our organization, or are we going to talk about the one that happened last night?
Well, let's start at the beginning.
Well, let's start
because when you start at the beginning and it's so serious, and then you hear about all the other BS.
Yeah.
Then you're kind of like, oh my God, no wonder why you guys are out there all the time. Why are you even on the radio tonight? A beautiful Wednesday night, and you're just sitting here on the radio while, you know, people are just
nice
dropping
breeze,
in the parking lots.
Window open. I know, man. It's great outside. Makes me want to go fishing. So, from what I know, in my building, we started getting in some new attendants. And, you know, every now and then we'd usually get a rough one or whatever. They'd be out within a week to a month or so, just because, you know, they wouldn't be doing what they needed to be doing. Well, for some odd reason, one individual moved in, brought in drugs, brought in fentanyl, brought in heroin, brought in pretty much anything you could possibly think of that is a street drug that's not supposed to be around. And there's rumors about this said person, and we're not going to disclose most of it, but we'll sit there and say that there was an actual death in the apartment, and there's a rumor going around that this said person distributed the drug to that person that passed away. And they were not found for, get this, 7 days.
7 days. I didn't know it took that long.
Yes, and it took for one of the tenants down.
Is the building really that run down and it smells that bad that you really can't tell? That
nobody smelled it. Nobody smelled. We couldn't smell anything. And the only reason why they found out about anything about it happening was because the neighbor from downstairs contacted the landlord and said, hey, I don't know what the person from upstairs is doing, but there's running water going constantly. And we did initially, about a couple months ago, had a actual water problem where there was a leak in one of the pipes. So everybody heard that sound. But he was just concerned. Well, they went up there, and immediately when they opened the door, you know, they got the aroma of what...
Full whiff of, you know...
Oh, yeah, it wasn't daisies and flowers up there.
Yeah.
And we didn't know what was going on. We had law enforcement there. We had cops, detectives, and we didn't know what was going on. So honestly, since one of our neighbors up there had an issue with cops and always had problems with cops, we just thought, it's probably him, doing something or whatever. Well, I come out of my apartment to go next door to my other neighbor's house because we hang out every now and then, sit there and talk about work and talk about things that we do. And I see Corners bringing her body down. And he says, "You don't want to see this." And I told him, "I've seen plenty. I used to live in Detroit in the hood, so I've seen plenty of dead bodies." So after an investigation was done and everything like that, they found out that she took a pill, and it ended her life as she was getting ready to take a bath. She was found dead on her bed.
Wow.
And after that was said and done, we moved out that person, and we sat there and started moving in some other people. Well, the most recent thing that has started our little neighborhood watch is why this subject has came up. A supposed individual was supposedly, and I'm not going to go into full detail, but basically from what they sit there and has told us personally, is that they were trying to get a tattoo done, but the tattoo was incomplete. It was improper. It was just god ugly. I mean,
yeah, okay, yeah, and then there was a discrepancy over that.
Yep, yeah, discrepancy, and then they also had supposedly they had a verbal disagreement. Mm-hmm. Then I guess the party left, but then the party came back, broke in, and then just did all these other things. But the story of this person is not adding up. And when we sat there and
we spoke to the girl.
Yeah, we even spoke to her, but the story kind of added up as much as 2 + 2 is 5. Like, how did it add up? It makes no sense.
Yeah.
So we just started investigating into it more, and the more we dug into it, the more the bowl got deeper. And turns out, from what we found out from other neighbors, as well as from what we also observed and everything, there were multiple different people coming into the building. And they were coming all through the night, to the point to where even the neighbor from downstairs stated every 15 minutes there's a new car.
Oh, yeah.
And every 30 minutes there was a new person upstairs.
Yeah.
Now, we are not going to really sit there and come to a full conclusion of what's going on up there, but we do know that something is not going right up there.
It's not a normal couple people come over and visit type situation, and we looked at the door. She showed us. She told us the story, and like you said, 2 and 2 were adding up to 5, and I'm still 2 and 2 on 3 with her.
Yeah,
I don't know how you even got to 5.
Because she's.
I'm still like at 2.5.
I mean, I'm amazed how the house was ransacked, but the bed's perfectly made.
Yeah, of course. And what she claims happened to her, these people did to her. I mean, being tied up and practically raped. I mean, is over twice. Just doesn't add up in anything that we've seen.
There's no emotional damage. There's no psychological impact or anything like that.
And the cops didn't send a female detective over. They didn't send
nope.
Didn't send her hospital to do a kit or anything like that.
Nope. And from what the landlord said was that they only sent out the male detective because all she told him was that there was a break-in. They didn't even know about the rape.
Yeah. So. And we know there's something else going on there. I mean, she has a little stripper clothes on, and one day I guess her phone rang and someone was on her way over and threw her long shirt at you as if you were her bouncer and say, "Oh, here, quick, take this." And she was
pretty much almost naked,
dressed almost naked, and so I mean, we speculate that there's a lot going on there, even though we don't have solid proof. But we do know that the traffic that's in and out of there is
quite
very
frequent.
Out of the usual, quite frequent, and it starts when it gets dark, and it keeps going all night.
Yep, all the way until 5 in the morning.
And, a lot of suspicious vehicles, and then that led to other events that were starting to happen as far as other overdoses, suspicious characters, people looking in windows.
People hitting cars.
Your truck, and I mean, it's just, it's ridiculous. Where, you have a perfectly quiet and very nice neighborhood that within a matter of a week, the fit hit the shan just to keep it clean for the radio. And, it's really sad that happens. And so that's when the police were talking to us, and we said, well, we're out here all the time, and organically, within a matter of minutes, our neighborhood watch started, and we rolled out a communications plan, and I mean, it's. I guess this is the situation we have to deal with, and I mean, it took literally a couple minutes to get some walkie-talkies out and some headpieces, earpieces, and we just said, okay, well, I guess we're going to be watching and communicating with each other on what is going on, keeping track of movement. And, of course, making sure that we are armed, because you don't know who you're up against here. I mean, if they're breaking the law in multiple areas, I mean, who's to say that, just because from what we're finding out, some of these people have records as they get picked up. And, and this episode, we're really going to talk about some of the techniques that we use, as well as some recommended techniques and different things that my research is showing, and what other neighborhood watch programs are using, as well as what law enforcement advises you to do. And I think that we are coming up to that break. Yes, I think that's what that music means. But if you stick around, we will be coming back after a brief timeout from our advertisers that so rudely interrupt such great topics that we talk about on the show. But we love them and thank them for their support. You're listening to Are You Ready? I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. We'll be right back.
Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also visit our home on the web. Just go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the program's link. If you missed the live show, you can listen to the show's archives on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, and many more, including our home on Spreaker. When a disaster happens, are you ready? Do you have the supplies you need to keep you and your family safe and survive? The Zombie Outpost store in Wilmington, Ohio, at Cedar Creek Flea Market, stocks quality gear you need to be ready for the next emergency or even a camping trip. Visit zombieoutpoststore.com for location and hours. Check out our assortment of essentials you need when the next disaster happens. Go to zombieoutpoststore.com. Get 10% off at checkout when you mention Are You Ready Radio. Be ready and be prepared.
In this digital society, making connections is quickly becoming a lost art form. Yet, if you are a small business owner, building your network is the only way you can get ahead. Can these skills be learned? You bet they can. Read Nose to Nose Networking. No nonsense, in-person networking tips from a master. Who's the master? Well, who better to teach networking and friend-building skills than a golden retriever? The author, Melanie Hope, takes the antics of Abigail and translates them into the human experience. Through Abby, you will learn how to set your intention, build a network, and get into and out of conversations with grace. If you love the Dog Abby segments on Counterculture-Wise Radio, you will love Nose to Nose Networking even more. Find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hard copy, Kindle, and Nook. Visit counterculturewise.com for direct links.
Greetings and salutations, Counterculture-Wise listeners. This is Maximilian von Riegelbieser inviting you and yours to listen to me and mine. Join me, my sisters Abby and Fritzy, and my weekly guests, my father Jim and Mumsy Melanie, for Counterculture-Wise.
Max, it's not your show.
And we're not your guests, Max. We're the hosts. You may want to rein it in a little bit, buddy.
Very well. Tune in every Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific at counterculturewise.com for our amazing live variety show. You can even chat with us. If you ask me, though, it should be called Counterculture Max.
Counterculture Wise. Radio with heart and mind.
Got a spare tire around that waist? Is your muffin top over the top? Do you binge eat uncontrollably? We are the government, and we are here to help you. Here at our free FEMA weight loss camp, we have numerous ways to help you shed those unsightly, unwanted pounds. FEMA, or Fatties Eating Mitigated, automatically has a communist-style weight loss czar that specializes in centralized weight loss planning and communal extended fasting programs to shed that fat away in no time. Skin and boned means extra tone is the motto. Just remember, there is no way you can do it on your own. We will forcefully assist you into compliance. Failure is not an option in this utopian wonderland. How fantastic. Typical workout regimes include digging ditches and restocking them with dirt, building railways and more. Get life skills while you get lean. How do you join? Simple. Recite the Constitution in a public commons, or violate the Patriot Act that includes simple misdemeanors. It's really that easy to get your own fenced-in slice of Americana. Stop being a fatty. The state is your daddy.
If you like what you are listening to, we appreciate your support. A small contribution from you, the listeners, can continue to help bring you such content and help keep things going here, even if it's just $1 a month. Keep in mind, though, in the spirit of prepping, we believe in redundancy, so it's better to have more than one, but every little bit helps pay the bills. Go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the Support the Show link. You can make a one-time or monthly contribution in any dollar amount. And again, thank you for your support and listening. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Are You Ready Radio. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. And this week, I have a special guest, Maverick, in the studio. And him and I are talking about our Neighborhood Watch, and glad to have him here. I'm bringing him back here in just a little bit. You know, during the break, him and I were actually talking about a really great program that's going on in Ohio, and it's actually being hosted by the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. And they're offering a beginning archery program on the third Wednesday of each month at 6 p.m. It runs 2 hours, so it's 6 to 8 p.m. And the class is held at the newly renovated Spring Valley Shooting Range on Houston Road in Waynesville, Ohio. So if anybody listening is interested in this, definitely check it out. You can visit the website there. They also have, all the equipment is provided. I was looking at some of the information about that, and you can bring your own personal safety gear, of course. And the classes for ages 8 to 18, regardless of your experience. So anything from beginner to advanced. And there's a phone number here. If you have any questions, you can call 937-269-3547. Yeah, 937-269-3547. Third Wednesday of each month. So beginning archery program on the third Wednesday of each month from 6 to 8 p.m. Spring Valley Shooting Range, hosted by the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. And, I always like to find things that help people teach skills. And this is a great program. And glad something like that's around. And was thinking about that before the first break when I was looking at some stuff online. Let's see. Back to Neighborhood Watch. Maverick, welcome back to the program. Special guest in the studio tonight.
Well, thank you. And that program does sound really good. I mean, I learned archery in high school, but that actually would be a great.
Yeah. I mean, if there was something like that when I was younger, at the age of 8, I guess they didn't trust me with a bow and arrow when I was in Cub Scouts.
No, I don't think so. I don't trust you with one now.
Yeah, you don't trust me with one now?
Dude, you're surrounded by guns in the studio.
I know. Which one should I grab? But I will say, if it does get to the point to where the government wants to take our guns, that's going to be one of the key skills you will need to learn.
So, Maverick, great having you on the air with me tonight.
I appreciate you having me as a guest. I really
appreciate
do.
you being here and putting up with my...
I got to put up with you every night.
It's true, you put up with me every night.
So the world knows now.
This is just another evening conversation, really, is all it really is.
So welcome.
Yeah. So, let's see.
You want to start off with a little humor? Let them know about that story that we.
Oh yeah, we got a ton of funny cop stories now.
Alrighty,
but so, yeah, go ahead if you want to start.
Alrighty, so we had at my building we had this person pull up,
suspicious person,
just really suspicious. Was acting weird, driving around all the other buildings. Then he came out, got out of the vehicle, and just kept looking at his phone, looking around, looking at all this other stuff. So we didn't know what was going on. Well, apparently a cop pulled in too, and what was funny was the cop pulled up to that same suspicious car that pulled in, looked at it, backed up, asked one of the neighbors that came out about it, and he said, "Oh, I don't know." And he backed out, drove out, went about two buildings up, turned around, and then parked sideways in the parking lot. Now, these parking lots are just straight up and down. He parked sideways in the middle of the parking lot,
facing down the hill towards the other buildings.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he gets out of the vehicle and he's like, "Hey, anybody see a silver Cadillac?" And,
we're out there.
Barefoot prepper just sits there and says, "You mean that one?"
The one the first parking lot you pulled into, looked at, and pulled out of?
And he goes, "Oh." He actually walks down, goes into the building. Well, we sit there, we have a little laugh about it, but then we inform the neighbor that comes up to us and says, "Hey, what's going on?" We don't know what's going on at all. Well, then about that time, another cop pulls up.
Oh, yeah. This is... Okay.
I'll let him take over from here.
Okay. So, another cop car, a cruiser, pulls up right next to the first cop that pulled in. Now, the first cop's already in the building that for the suspicious vehicle that it was parked at. The cruiser pulls up. One of the town's finest, get out, looks at us in the other parking lot, facing the building where the suspicious car is, after he just parked next to another cruiser, and asks us, "Is there another officer here?" I looked. I said, "Oh, yeah, sorry about that other car you just parked next to. There was a whole bunch of them over there by the police station that we got really messed up last night, and I'm sorry about the parking job." Without skipping a beat, Maverick.
Oh, trust me. The officer looked at Barefoot, sat there all upset looking, and I said, "Hey, but at least we put a full tank of gas back in it for you." The cop started laughing, and Barefoot laughed himself, and he's like, "Yeah, he's in that building over there." And what made me laugh was he didn't go into any other building. He didn't go to the building where they were parked at. He didn't go into Barefoot's building. He didn't even try to go to my building. He came up with the most suspicious question, and he's like, "Is there another cop here?" "No, we're just sitting there joyriding."
"No, we stole that cruiser last night. We were out here messing around, and we got a little messed up, and we just took it."
I promise you this, though, Barefoot. If I ever see that cop pull me over or anything, I'm going to say, "Oh, no, did you run out of gas?"
Actually, it's funny. My mom told me a couple days later, I guess the tag on her license plate wasn't clear for registration. And I said, "Wow, they became very observant all of a sudden. I got to tell you a story." And she goes, "What'd the cop look like?" And I described him. And she goes, "That's the same one that pulled me over." I said, "There's no way that he noticed something wrong with a sticker on a license plate. He didn't know he was parked next to his partner or another fellow cop the other night. He must have stepped up his game."
He must be farsighted.
must be farsighted. I don't know. They can't find the car that they just passed that they were looking for, and the car wasn't moving.
No, it was parked.
Oh, boy. There's a lot of these crazy things. And this, folks, this is really why you need to make sure that you're patrolling your own neighborhoods. Because they don't catch everything, and they're not around all the time either. Now, I get it. They have a very hard job they're doing. The point of this is not to knock the cops. I mean, they work really hard. I appreciate them. I know, Maverick, you appreciate them for what they do. We really do appreciate law enforcement, even at the store. We love law enforcement, military, scouts, everybody, But sometimes it just goes to show that the police are not always able to see, observe, realize, or, even catch everything that goes on. This seems like a very obvious thing, is there another officer here parking right next to another officer's car?
He doesn't know. We could have bought that at the police auction, Carl.
Could have bought it at a police auction, fully equipped it and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe, you know what, they probably just looked at us and said, I would not be surprised if they have a cruiser like this. A Ford Interceptor.
Oh, yeah. 2014 model.
Oh, boy.
It's get great gas, though.
It gets great gas. You got to see what this thing does on a highway.
I don't get it. Everybody starts pulling over when I turn on my high beams.
Still trying to figure out what all these buttons do.
All this one does is keep yelling at me.
Yeah, this keeps yelling at me, and this one moves people out of my way. Every time I'm up to an intersection, I push this button, and everybody just stops every way, and they just let me go.
But as you said, it is correct that an actual neighborhood watch is a very important situation, because when I lived in Detroit, nobody would really talk to anybody because they were in fear of whoever was watching them, and there was no such thing as a neighborhood watch around there because the moment the police showed up, no one talked.
Oh yeah, everybody was quiet. Everybody hid. No one was
everybody
around.
hid. Everybody hated the cops. I mean, at the school that I was at, a kid got really mad at somebody. I don't really know the full story on what caused this, but I do know that he caused a scare in the school and claimed that there would be a gang fight that would break out in front of the school. So they called the local law enforcement. It took Detroit PD, that had, at the time, more than 1,000 law enforcement officers, almost a half hour to get there. When they got there, they said they couldn't do anything because it was on federal ground, which made absolutely no sense. So after a 30-minute wait that could have caused multiple people their lives,
of course,
the law enforcement didn't want to do anything. So when I got home, I lived in a trailer park at the time. Mm-hmm. Me and about 50 other people that lived in there did the same thing that we were doing, you and me. We started up a neighborhood watch. Now, if a lot of people don't understand, why is there a neighborhood watch, or what is the term or reason for a neighborhood watch? Well, I'll tell you, and this is actually something that you actually would find interesting. The neighborhood watch actually started around the early 1960s because a woman by the name of Katie excuse me, I might get this name wrong, Genovese, in the Queens of New York City, was raped and murdered. And a lot of the people in that neighborhood were actually outraged because, for the simple fact that dozens of witnesses stated that they seen something, but none of their stories came to fruition. So, there's a great book called The Death and the Life of a Great American Cities. It was published in 1961. It's great. It talks about this, and it's called The Eyes on the Street. But most of the communities around there basically just kept an eye on everything. And since back in that time they had party lines, you could just pick up the phone and just say, hey.
Yeah.
So, I mean, now we got text messaging, we got Facebook, we got all these other things to do. So, a neighborhood watch within itself is actually a good idea because if you really want to get rid of the drugs, you want to get rid of the craziness, the fighting, and all this other stuff, the neighborhood watch is great because you're not an organized law enforcement agency, but you are pretty much a deputy candidate kind of thing. Like a cadet program.
You're on the side of law enforcement.
Right.
Plus, law enforcement knows that, the average civilian, if they know the law, has a little more latitude than they do. And they also know that, like what you were saying, is like in Detroit, when the cops would show up, everything would stop. Everybody would hide. No one would say anything. You didn't know what was going. The cops never saw what was going on. Whereas the neighbors, people get comfortable in their surroundings, and they will engage in whatever activity they normally engage in front of neighbors because, well, they're a permanent fixture there, and it's just kind of they're more comfortable once they warm up to the environment that they're in. It also works as a deterrent too. They're more likely not to act up when they know that a lot of people are watching. And but in the case of Detroit, going back to that thought, the cops show up and they're on good behavior.
Oh yeah, I mean it's simple. Like there was a Dollar General near my school where I was going. Me and a buddy were walking down the road. A kid and two kids, and then their dad. The two little kids got on top of the car, and the little son got into the passenger seat. And as they were pulling out of the back of the Dollar General, two dudes come out and start just unloading the whole entire clip. Well, since they ended up killing the passenger, and then they killed the dad ended up dying, headshot immediately to the wound.
Oh, that's sad.
What happens to the body when it gets shot in the brain? It locks. So since his foot was already on the accelerator, it locked straight. The little kids on the hood tried to jump off. They ended up getting ran over by the car, dying. And
worse.
I heard a rumor about this. I didn't really pay no mind to it because when, it's going down, I'm dropping down. You know what I mean? I don't want to get shot.
Of course.
But apparently a rumor went around stating that the little girl that was on top of the car, when she got ran over, her head popped off and went into the middle of the street. Me and my my friends stayed there, and we watched what was going on. And by the time the law enforcement got there, which was 20 minutes, by the time law enforcement got there and the ambulances and everybody got there and everything like that, everybody was already dead. And if you were going to try to even find these people, they were probably already back at their house playing video games or something, or even just doing something. And there was a multitude of witnesses, and they even showed it on the camera. There was a multitude of witnesses inside that parking lot. There was a multitude of witnesses inside the store and everything like that. The cops got there, and they said this on the news report, and I remember this famous day. They say, and I quote, "Nobody can remember seeing what happened."
Well,
that makes absolutely no logical sense.
It actually kind of does, from a psychological standpoint, now that you mention that. And it really is like, it's something that you got to look at when you're selecting candidates and certain members of the community when it comes to Neighborhood Watch. Because now that you mention that, people will forget, and they will not remember certain traumatic events. In an event like that, it's so horrible that someone may, and a lot of people, their mind can't process terror and horror like that. They can't process that this horrible experience just happened, and they saw it. And the mind wipes it out. The mind says, okay, you're not equipped to deal with this yet. Now, maybe 10, 15 years down the road, they're going to shoot up in the middle of the night and have all these horrible nightmares in a cold sweat, seeing vividly exactly what happened. The human mind works that way. The body will say, no, It's like, I mean, anybody that experiences a very traumatic event like that, the average person can't handle it. And when you have certain candidates for your neighborhood watch, there are certain people that are observers, and then there are certain people that are, we'll say, communicators, certain people that are maybe gunners, certain people that are, certain people that may be runners. And when you start forming your group, you really do have to assess and evaluate each member and what their role is. Kind of like we had the conversation about communications. How, if 5 people, 10 people are talking to a police officer at the same time, they're not getting the story. When they respond, then you have, we'll say, one person, maybe someone that saw a majority of what happened, or maybe the one that called is the communications guy on point at that point. They're the ones that should be talking to the officer. And everybody else, they speak to the officer when they're asked by the officer. Did you see anything? Do you have anything to add? Someone called and reported they're the call-in point person, and everybody else is just either another witness or something to verify the credibility of the event or whatever's being said that happened, and or add to whatever they also experienced. And when I talk about this on previous episodes, when it comes to developing your prepping plan and the duties of each person in your tribe, as I call it, or your prepping community, because some folks, like we call you the man at arms. you're the man at arms now. I don't need to be the gun guy. I don't need to be the arms guy. I can be the communications guy. I can be the tech. I'll find my role somewhere else. I don't need that job too. So, so in your case, Maverick, I mean, you're the arms guy, and I get to put my gun away once in a while and have a few drinks hanging out. It's like, I'm good. I don't mind not having that duty. So, there's a lot to look at when it comes to assessing what role someone plays in that. And, maybe you designate, even though you may be the one that calls it, maybe you designate a communications guy that may have been former law enforcement or military that can accurately describe a situation in the lingo that they speak on, in their world. There is that going for it. But like I was saying, and like what you were saying, the cops are not around. I mean,
and it's probably not on the department's thing. It might be because they don't have actually enough officers on shift or anything.
Yeah.
But what we've been noticing, and for this area where we're at, sometimes they're usually, if there's nothing else going on, they'll just show up at the officers' one site. I mean, there was one incident here near the speedway down the road from where we are. When I was getting gas, one police officer pulled over a vehicle. And then after maybe 5 minutes or so, 2 more vehicles showed up. And they sat there and did this little roadblock thing where they sit there and they basically draw their guns and they sit there and give the gentleman or female instructions on getting out of the vehicle, and pretty much what they're doing is what they call a felony stop, or a code 5 or whatever have you, whatever the code is. And basically what they are doing with this situation is they're trying to apprehend the subject to be able to put him in custody for a warrant or for something else or whatever have you. Well, I can understand, 3 officers being there plus maybe a backup supervisor or somebody like that being there. But by the time I left, I counted almost 8 squad cars there. And I do not think that Geo was going to go anywhere far, especially with those cars. And not only that, with the state of Ohio, their pursuit clause are a lot different than other states. Some states will sit there and say, hey, if a pursuit starts, stop. Don't even engage, don't even follow, don't even do anything. In Ohio, they will follow you until you run out of gas, and then you see us popping out saying, hey, we put a full tank in it, we're sorry.
Good thing we put a full tank in there.
I mean, we did. It cost us $130, but, I still haven't gotten that check yet. But,
if you guys are going to go out chasing people, you got to make sure you have more gas in this thing than you had.
But it's just the thing is, like, you don't need that much police presence for one little incident. Because if that was the situation that happened last night when we had our little issue, why would you need all those officers there? And not only that, it was over an hour before we heard anything, and that was just ridiculous in my opinion. It took over an hour for us to finally get any word that we can't send anybody out because
they haven't even been dispatched yet.
Oh no,
we did a follow-up call to
not even
the non-emergency line.
Ago.
We ended up getting dispatched, and I spoke to the operator and I said, we placed a call about a suspicious vehicle here, and you guys want something actionable. You have a driver's stop. You want to do a courtesy knock on some doors to see who owns the vehicle, just tell them to move it and see what comes of that.
It was parked in front of a fire hydrant.
We give them everything they need to not even issue a ticket, but they always say, we need something that gives us a reason to. And we give them the reason. We give them the marble in the pocket, and we give them the strategy even.
The same cop that told us that was the same cop I put gas in his truck.
So, it actually turns out that, speaking of pursuits, there was a pursuit that was going on.
Oh.
Last night. It was on the news today.
Oh, wonderful.
In the whole county.
And we didn't get invited.
We didn't get invited to that one.
No.
No. We don't get invited to the pursuits. No. They're just like, well, someone's got to watch the block.
I guess. I mean,
so we don't
full tank in there.
They're not invited to our fancy little pursuits. Someone needs to watch the rest of the city. Someone needs to watch the rest of the town.
Yeah, and none of that. It wasn't not even a half hour beforehand. They sat there and were doing some kind of training situation.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
that was another funny story that you want to bring up.
I see a suspicious person going from one area to behind another set of trees and stuff like that in a lot.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to go check it out. And you're on the radio, and we see a police car down at the end of the block. I said, oh, good, the cops are here. The cops are already here. They're watching out. I said, but now this person's in an area where they can't see her. So there was another cop at the end of the block. I said, well, they're probably looking for this person. I said, let me at least ID them, and we'll let them know. Yeah, you were already going up to the end of the street to make contact with one of the officers that was up there.
Yeah,
I'm coming up behind her, and I see the other officer is over to my right flank, and I figured, we got a triangle. This is perfect. This is 2 cops in position, and I'm coming on the rear. I said, whoever this person is, we'll definitely call on my radio from Maverick here.
We got a dog.
We got a dog. Okay. So is the dog looking for this person?
Don't know, but he's on me.
Okay. I'm like, oh, my God. Now, this story was on the radio a couple weeks ago. My cat had to go chase after someone in Kettering. The dogs couldn't. The canine couldn't find the person, and my cat was on him.
Still waiting for that badge of honor.
I will get to that story probably after the next break. Now, it turns out that Maverick here radios to me that, the cop up here at the end of the road is doing canine training. I'm like, okay, well, there's another unit parked down here. And I said, okay, I'm now in the front of a bunch of stores down on the main road, and I am now trying to find this person. Well, I lost visual of him briefly until I came around the building, and I said, okay, I'm on him. But then you relayed back to me that the other cop, I guess, is part of the canine training. I'm like, well, yeah. I can't be in the middle. You want to clear the area. I mean, you can't. You don't want to be caught up in canine training,
right? Because by the time that I finally left,
because then I'm like confused. I said, is this person an actor in the canine training? Like, are they participating with the police for the dogs to find them? And now I'm ruining the scent. I'm, probably making it a little more challenging for the dog. Or I'm the one that doesn't have the protective gear on that the dog is going to mistake, and I'm the one the dog is going to get. I'm like, oh, come on. The cops were not clear. The police department did not say, of all the places, and they've never done this before, canine training in our neighborhood.
Not only that, they didn't even say specifically where they were going to go. He just said he was doing it right there, and there's a little shop right up here at the end of the road.
Okay.
And that's where he was doing it at first. When I did my rounds and I came back around, he was running across the brick wall right there before you get to that parking lot of that big store over there.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, well, I might as well just tell Barefoot there and just sit there and say, hey, stay where you're at. Or if you're going to come back and rendezvous around the other side. That way you're not in the way, because they went all the way down, went into that big open field.
Yeah.
So we don't know.
Yeah.
So the communication between our community and law enforcement is more poor than my bank account, really. So we'll just.
Well, don't think radio pays much either.
I mean, what is today?
Yeah, you never know. I mean, and that's really the thing. Communication with law enforcement is key. We got some more funny stories and some other great information coming your way. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. You're listening to Are You Ready Radio with my special guest Maverick in the studio this evening. Stick around, folks. We'll be right back.
Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also visit our home on the web. Just go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the program's link. If you missed the live show, you can listen to the show's archives on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, and many more, including our home on Spreaker. When a disaster happens, are you ready? Do you have the supplies you need to keep you and your family safe and survive? The Zombie Outpost store in Wilmington, Ohio, at Cedar Creek Flea Market, stocks quality gear you need to be ready for the next emergency or even a camping trip. Visit ZombieOutpostStore.com for location and hours. Check out our assortment of essentials you need when the next disaster happens. Go to zombieoutpoststore.com. Get 10% off at checkout when you mention Are You Ready Radio. Be ready and be prepared.
In this digital society, making connections is quickly becoming a lost art form. Yet, if you are a small business owner, building your network is the only way you can get ahead. Can these skills be learned? You bet they can. Read Nose to Nose Networking. No nonsense, in-person networking tips from a master. Who's the master? Well, who better to teach networking and friend-building skills than a golden retriever? The author, Melanie Hope, takes the antics of Abigail and translates them into the human experience. Through Abby, you will learn how to set your intention, build a network, and get into and out of conversations with grace. If you love the Dog Abby segments on Counterculture-Wise Radio, you will love Nose to Nose Networking even more. Find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hard copy, Kindle, and Nook. Visit counterculturewise.com for direct links.
Hey, how you doing? This is Magic Pierce inviting you and yours to listen to some good friends of mine that have a show too. Did you really think my daddy is the only one that just runs his mouth all the time and that's the only thing I listen to? No, it's not. I got a show I listen to on Sundays. Join host Max and his co-host, my hottie Fritzy, and of course my good friend Abby on Counterculture-Wise, Sundays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern. They have their own human guests, Melanie and Jim, each week. They don't meow a lot, but you get what they're saying. Now let me tell you, you have to go to counterculturewise.com. Use your paws to play with the mouse and scroll down to the on-the-air button on the right to hear their show. Just click on that. After that, watch them on Periscope like I do. Daddy gives me a little mouse to play with, and I get farts the whole time. It's a great show. Check it out. Counterculturewise.com. If you don't tune in, I get cuckoos on you.
Thank you so much for that ringing endorsement, Magic. It warms the orange hearts of me and Abby and the gray heart of Fritzy to hear you say such amazing things about our show. I'm pretty sure that Mumsy and Father have pink hearts, so we will assume their hearts are warmed too.
Forget about it. I got you guys. Good peoples.
Got a spare tire around that waist? Is your muffin top over the top? Do you binge eat uncontrollably? We are the government and we are here to help you. Here at our free FEMA weight loss camp, we have numerous ways to help you shed those unsightly, unwanted pounds. FEMA, or Fatties Eating Mitigated, automatically has a communist-style weight loss czar that specializes in centralized weight loss planning and communal extended fasting programs to shed that fat away in no time. Skin and boned means extra tone is the motto. Just remember, there is no way you can do it on your own. We will forcefully assist you into compliance. Failure is not an option in this utopian wonderland. How fantastic. Typical workout regimes include digging ditches and restocking them with dirt, building railways and more. Get life skills while you get lean. How do you join? Simple. Recite the Constitution in a public commons, or violate the Patriot Act that includes simple misdemeanors. It's really that easy to get your own fenced-in slice of Americana. Stop being a fatty. The state is your daddy.
If you like what you are listening to, we appreciate your support. A small contribution from you, the listeners, can continue to help bring you such content and help keep things going here, even if it's just $1 a month. Keep in mind, though, in the spirit of prepping, we believe in redundancy, so it's better to have more than one, but every little bit helps pay the bills. Go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the Support the Show link. You can make a one-time or monthly contribution in any dollar amount. And again, thank you for your support and listening. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. Hey, and welcome back, everyone. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio. Wonderful Wednesday evening, or whatever time and day you are listening to it on our rebroadcasting platforms. Make sure you check us out, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcast, everywhere. Everywhere you like to listen to podcasts, we whore ourselves out that way for your enjoyment. And with me today is my special guest, Maverick. We're talking about the Neighborhood Watch. And also, after we're done informing of everything, I am getting put in the hot seat today. So that is going to be very exciting. Putting me in the hot seat is always a fun thing for people to do when it comes to my prepping and survival experience knowledge. And I have no idea what you're about to put me through.
Oh, trust me, I'm going to put a Bible out for you to swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Oh, boy, that thing's going to burn. So, let's not light the studio on fire, open up the burning pit of hell. That is our other neighbor's job, speaking of the burning pit of hell. Mr. Giant Fire Maker of a neighbor.
Oh, yes.
And,
dropping fire out of his pocket everywhere he goes.
We have an ongoing joke because sometimes the fires get so big. Another one with the police. We sometimes get a little worried because the fires are so big. And there's after a while, he gets them so big, they're so close to the fence.
And even close to the foliage, too.
Yeah, and he always goes...
he wants to go above beyond the call of the fire.
Yeah, and he sometimes gets a little too out of control with the fires.
He doesn't believe in Smokey's words.
No, he doesn't. He probably lit Smokey the Bear on fire. So
only you.
Only you could prevent... Oh, stop that. Come on, that burns. Oh, my God. Yeah.
Worse than last night.
So, yeah, as only he could do, he could open up the burning pit of hell that only Satan could actually light himself. So, yeah, there's that. So, yeah, another ongoing joke with the police is when they show up, you know, this is a huge fire. Oh, yeah, about that, officer. Sorry about that. Actually, yeah, there was a guy that was running through the parking lot, and he dropped this here, and we're just making sure everybody's safe, and we're glad you got here. He ran that way. He dropped a fire out of his pocket? Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah. He was running through the parking lots, and next thing you know, he dropped this fire right here.
To give context to people that are listening and don't understand how that would be funny, there was not just one fire. It was a multitude of fires all together in one. It was three, if I remember correctly when I saw it, it was three little small fire pits, but one was actually in the fire pit.
Yeah. One of them was the real fire pit. The other one was multiple fires on each side of the fire pit. And, yeah. Only done from Satan. Anyway. So, what do we got? Yeah. So, we were talking about, I know in the beginning of the program I brought it up, about some of the legal aspects of Neighborhood Watch. And, you got to be mindful of what the parameters are. Civilians do have some more latitude than, we'll say, a property owner, we'll say, in the case of a landlord and a building, or even the police department themselves. So, really, what you're observing and what action different people can take really depends on where they fall within different systems. So, we'll say the police can only take action when it comes to a criminal matter
that was observed, that they can verify, and that they can press charges on. So the police are kind of limited to strictly, mostly the criminal aspect of anything going on in the neighborhood. Now, as far as in the case of, we'll say, a landlord that's moving tenants into a building, an apartment complex, or anything like that, they need something that gives them a civil cause of action, which can be based on any criminal action that the police find a tenant in violation of. And so the landlord can't really do much outside of hold up their end of the four corners of the contract. As it really, a tenancy is really just a contract. It's simple contract law, where both parties agree to pay one for another service, and one person provides a service, and they get to live there, and it's based on the terms of that contract. So that is all a matter of civil action. And the landlord cannot take civil action against a tenant unless there is something actionable. And the neighborhood watch should, if you have apartments in your neighborhood, you have buildings, apartment complexes, anything like that in your neighborhood, or even if just a house for rent in your area, you should also be talking to the landlords of those properties, or the landlord of the property, so that they're aware of exactly what is going on, and they're aware of what is happening, and you can relay to them certain information and everything that you observe. And really, in the eyes of the law, you have to watch out for things such as speculation. Speculation doesn't help the image of a neighborhood watch. It really diminishes your rapport with law enforcement, because it's just like a conspiracy theorist. We saw flashing lights in the sky, and because my brother was stationed in whatever in a top secret base, we know that aliens exist, and so the aliens are coming. That's what they hear when there's a lot of speculation. Although everybody is suspicious that something is happening, and law enforcement may know that, they still don't have anything that they can act on in a criminal manner until something is observed firsthand, and they can verify that through an investigation. So until they get something, and this goes back to, we'll say, the suspicious vehicle, it was parked in front of a fire hydrant. And, the point of last night when they didn't dispatch anybody was the police need something that they can act on. So now they have a parking violation. Whoop-de-doo. Big deal. A whoop-de-ding-dong parking violation. Which, of course, in Mayberry, that's a big deal. But in a city, it's not. But little parking violation was the seed. That was the catalyst. That they're not there to write a parking ticket. Their job was to come and maybe just do their community baby kissing BS, knock on a couple doors where we know the person went in, and say, "Hi, we noticed, is this your vehicle out here? You're parked in front of a fire hydrant. Would you mind moving it?" And when they're high and tweaking off their rear ends, they get in their vehicle and the cop pulls them over, and then they have a reason. It led to something else. It was something beyond the parking violation, folks. And it doesn't matter. Sometimes you could give someone all this. You can give them the cattle. You can give them the seed. You can give them the little marble that they need.
You gave them 2 seeds because they also did not have a tag on the car either.
There were no tags on it.
That would have been probable cause.
That would have been probable cause. I mean, maybe there was something in the overly tinted windows in this gangster-looking SUV that, could have. We gave it to them. Here it is. Here's a slice of cake. It's beautiful freaking cake. Here's a beautiful plate with a nice lace doily and silver forks to eat the freaking cake with. But guess what they didn't do? Sometimes neighborhood watch can be frustrating. Go ahead, Maverick. I know you wanted to say something.
Oh, I was just saying that.
Okay.
I mean, we literally gave him a red velvet cake with a
red velvet cake with everything.
Everything on it, including a little kiss mark that had our phone number on the plate.
Oh, that's right. We did.
But that's what they really needed. They needed something that was probable cause in order to sit there and further investigate. And what we seen there was it was a vehicle that was parked in front of a fire hydrant. Now, if we were not the neighborhood watch like we were, that we actually care about our neighbors, we wouldn't give a crap about their car because if the fire department came that night and there was a fire or whatever, the fire department, by law, has the right to smash out their windows if they're blocking the fire hydrant.
Move the car and drag it away.
Yeah.
Okay. Plus, we have neighbors that park in front of that fire hydrant all the time, and we don't care. We know who they are. However, we discriminate. We know that you're not a vehicle from this area.
You don't even live here.
You don't live here. And we know what your real business is going into that residence. So, you want something actionable, and we're giving it to you. If it was the old man, no big deal. He could park in front of the fire hydrant.
He's old.
He's old.
He doesn't even know what he's doing. Sometimes.
If it was the young kid that sometimes just parks over there because it's right by his door, no problem. We know him. If it was your mom,
and
my mom,
even really park in front of the fire hydrant.
Anybody's mom, relative, friend, family, someone we know, no problem. But it was just the catalyst. It was just to make it look like the police are just, hey, we're your friends. Would you mind moving your vehicle? We noticed it's parked in front of fire. Is that yours? You're not in trouble. You give them what they want, and they don't take it.
I mean, I guess they couldn't smell the apple pie on the windowsill, I guess.
They couldn't. You can lead a horse to water, but, after a while, I don't know. Maybe it's quicksand. Let him go. Now, you have some interesting things as far as, we've been talking about graded neighborhood watches and pros and cons.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's hear a few.
So from what I found on this one website, it's mostly talking about the neighborhood watch advantages and disadvantages of it, and not to discourage anybody that does have a neighborhood watch and everything like that. We understand that there are neighborhood watches out there that are so perfect that even we would move to that neighborhood just to help out. But there are also some neighborhood watches that are just...
I'd move to that neighborhood to retire after these past 2 weeks.
Exactly. But there are also neighborhood watches out there that are just... And let's just go urban for this cause, since we've already gone to a outrageable thing.
And we're a suburban community. I mean, we're not an urban. We're not Detroit. We're in a very nice city.
Oh no,
there's a lot of money in this city.
Oh, there's a saying about this city, so I ain't going to really put that out there. But we'll just say it's a high class white trash kind of thing. But there are pros to neighborhood watches, and then there are cons. And some of the cons to a lot of these neighborhood watches are kind of pretty much just a group of Karens that are pretty much like the HOA, pretty much. So from what I found, for the pros and cons, mostly neighborhood watches may provide additional security for law enforcement. And some places, especially like for us, where we are at, it's very low key. It's in the back, and it's not really noticeable unless you actually drive down the road or whatever. We may have a couple side streets and everything on our road, but really we don't have much traffic come down here unless there's a vehicle accident on the main roads or something like that. Or even
and they use it as a bypass to get around it. Yeah,
that's the only way. Nobody even comes down here and sees old man Fred's garden that he makes out front. Nobody sees Gerald's flag that he has out there that he renews every 3 months. Nobody really pays attention to this.
Nobody sees the grills, the fire pit, the redneck piazzas, it's called, in the neighborhood.
They don't even see the cul-de-sac hockey game that plays every night.
Pinwheel garden and all that. They don't
none
see
of that.
His Pop-Tarts and
none of that. If you think about it, also you can get to know your neighbors a lot better. I mean, I didn't know who Nick was until after we started, hanging out more and everything like that. And I found out that a lot of his, background is pretty much how my family originated out of. My family is actually one of the first 5 that actually resided in Ohio. Oh. And when I found out where Nick was originated from, that's where my family was originated from. And I thought that was pretty cool. People may get the feeling and the sense of control, and that's where I get with the Karen part about it. People might get the sense that they have an overpowering or a high overall power, that they're doing their duty. And yes, you may be doing that. but you may be doing too much.
And that's a good point. I think that some people may be overzealous,
yeah,
or they're on a power trip because they do this, or some people may look at this like, oh, they're just busybodies and they're just nosy, or they just like gossip, or something like that. No,
or they want to be a cop. Yeah,
I don't like to be the snitch, but at the same time, I want to make sure that my property, me, family, neighbors, all that are safe. So, I mean, and I'm the last person to call. If someone's having a big party and it's really loud, I'm the last person that would ever say anything. I'm a drummer. And when I drink, I like to do karaoke.
Yeah.
Look at that big new speaker over there.
Look
at that, dude.
I heard you singing Sonny and Cher last night.
Sonny and Cher.
I mean, you were breaking my heart with that performance. I know that.
Oh, don't go breaking my heart.
But I will say this as a final state for the pros, and I really like what this author sat there and said. They said neighborhood watch programs can not only educate your community, but it also can show the community that there is somebody out there that cares.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, that's really what it's about, is knowing that people do care about not just the community, but them as well. I mean, like the one neighbor, he's got kids, and he's fed up.
Oh, yeah.
And, his wife and the kids are not going to go out there and,
No, you also got to think, too, in the state of Ohio, fentanyl is one of the highest rated drug that kills people and everything.
Yeah. And it's like that going through the country.
Oh,
not just Ohio
it's spreading faster than COVID is.
Yeah.
But he has a 10-year-old daughter. And with a lot of these weirdos that are walking around and everything, and I call them weirdos because
zombie tweakers.
Zombie tweakers. We'll stay with zombie tweakers. A lot of these zombie tweakers, they are very nosy, and are nosy in a sense to where they're literally sitting there looking in through the windows.
Yeah.
And I know exactly why he's fed up, because one night he was sitting on the couch, and this one person that he knows that pretty much mooches off of anybody he could get his hands on. I mean, he's knocking on everybody's door at 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, asking for change, asking for anything to be able to go and get it. And not only that, this man actually is a snitch himself, which is kind of funny, because he says, if I were to die, here is my so-and-so's name and so-and-so's phone number, have the cops go to their house. And I told him straight to his face, you made your bed, and you will sleep in it. I am not cleaning your dirty laundry. But this said person stood outside of a window at the most randomest times you would ever stand outside of a window and terrified his kid. Now that bugged me.
I don't think there's any good time to stand outside someone else's window, staring inside.
Exactly. And I mean, I get if you want to sit there and have the high. I mean, I get that. I get you want to be able to feel good, feel relaxed, and all that sort of stuff. But the thing is don't be out in public like that. Yeah. Because it's pretty much just like being drunk in public. I've always seen people that want to be able to do these things, just do them in private. They have bars for where you can go get drunk. And if you get too drunk and they kick you out, get a taxi or get an Uber or have your buddy take you home or your mom. I mean, there's still people living in their basements. But if you want to sit there and get high or want to do all these other things or whatever, do it privately. Don't do it out in public because, number one, you're going to get arrested regardless. It doesn't matter who you are. You could be the mayor's kid. You could be the president's kid. You're going to get arrested.
How much do cemetery plots go for? I have an idea.
I have no idea, but I know people are just dying to get in there. So
I know. Business is great. But I'm wondering, I think it should be kind of one of those things where, maybe they should just pass a law or an ordinance.
Okay.
That just says, if you're going to get really messed up on this stuff, you're allowed to do it in a cemetery.
I would say,
but you have to buy the hole.
I would say more or less, if you're willing to sit there and allow your body to go to a state of shutting down, and you just like that because you like the sense of death at your own grips.
Then you have a whole field of holes ready for you to fall into.
Sign a waiver.
And you go there and do it. And this way, the only thing they have to do is once in a while pull a bobcat or a backhoe around and just throw some dirt in it.
I mean, in reality, if you want to do that, just sign a waiver and just do it in a controlled area. Yeah. And then if you pass away, you're right there.
They're already there.
Yeah.
Exactly. A tweakatary.
A tweakatary.
A tweakatary.
A tweakatary.
Yes, there we go.
A tweakatent.
A tweakatary.
Tweakatent. Tweakatent.
So, yeah, a tweakatary. That would be great.
Now, a lot of y'all out there, and I say y'all because I'm from the southern area of Ohio. The basis on a neighborhood watch is just simply to watch.
I'm from New York, but you don't see me going around and a lot of youths out there.
I mean, hey, how you doing? But the reason for the neighborhood watch is not only to watch out for yourself, but also to watch out for your neighbors, because you may like your neighbor, and not only that, especially for us, our landlords don't live here. We don't live in those kind of apartments where the landlord lives in the apartment itself. That is their property, and not only is it theirs, it's ours too, and we need a place to lay our heads and sleep. And if somebody was to sit there and try to cook crack or whatever like that, or cook meth or whatever, and the thing explodes, well, so do we.
Yeah.
And
they're probably thinking, those guys have a lot of guns, they probably have a lot of ammo. What if... they probably think that our
have you not gone to the zombie outpost over there in Wilmington, Ohio? I mean, you gotta be prepared. Grab what you can: your knives, your ammo packs, your backpacks, water, your fire starters. I mean, hey, why do you think I go to the zombie outpost? To get my supplies.
And that actual the archery thing I was saying is not too far from the zombie outpost.
Oh no, it is not.
Yeah, Ohio Department of Natural Resources Spring Valley Shooting Range is right on in Waynesville on Houston Road, and that's that class that I was talking about. Spring Valley Shooting Range, the beginning archery program on the third Wednesday of each month from 6 to 8 p.m. Make sure you check it out. If you have any questions about it, the number, I'm going to give it one more time during the show. It's 937-269-3547. Third Wednesday of every month. It's actually right down from our store, not too far away.
And what is that phone number again? Let me write it down real quick.
Okay, I'll give it, if you want to write it down, 937-269-3547. And before we go... Before I leave you, I just want to tell you who I am if you don't know already. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. With me here in the studio is Maverick. Not Magic. Someone actually sent me a message about that. I was like, what? No. Maverick.
M-A-V-R-I-K.
I will be right back with my special guest. Stick around. I think I'm going in the hot seat next. Ho-ho, this should be fun.
Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also visit our home on the web. Just go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the program's link. If you missed the live show, you can listen to the show's archives on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, and many more, including our home on Spreaker. When a disaster happens, are you ready? Do you have the supplies you need to keep you and your family safe and survive? The Zombie Outpost store in Wilmington, Ohio, at Cedar Creek Flea Market, stocks quality gear you need to be ready for the next emergency or even a camping trip. Visit zombieoutpoststore.com for location and hours. Check out our assortment of essentials you need when the next disaster happens. Go to zombieoutpoststore.com. Get 10% off at checkout when you mention Are You Ready Radio. Be ready and be prepared.
In this digital society, making connections is quickly becoming a lost art form. Yet, if you are a small business owner, building your network is the only way you can get ahead. Can these skills be learned? You bet they can. Read Nose to Nose Networking. No nonsense, in-person networking tips from a master. Who's the master? Well, who better to teach networking and friend-building skills than a golden retriever? The author, Melanie Hope, takes the antics of Abigail and translates them into the human experience. Through Abby, you will learn how to set your intention, build a network, and get into and out of conversations with grace. If you love the Dog Abby segments on Counterculture-Wise Radio, you will love Nose to Nose Networking even more. Find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hard copy, Kindle, and Nook. Visit counterculturewise.com for direct links.
Greetings and salutations, counterculture-wise listeners. This is Maximilian von Riegelbieser inviting you and yours to listen to me and mine. Join me, my sisters Abby and Fritzy, and my weekly guests, my father Jim and Mumsy Melanie, for Counterculture-wise.
Max, it's not your show.
And we're not your guests, Max. We're the hosts. You may want to rein it in a little bit, buddy.
Very well. Tune in every Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific at counterculturewise.com for our amazing live variety show. You can even chat with us. If you ask me, though, it should be called Counterculture Max.
Counterculture Wise. Radio with heart in mind.
Got a spare tire around that waist? Is your muffin top over the top? Do you binge eat uncontrollably? We are the government and we are here to help you. Here at our free FEMA weight loss camp, we have numerous ways to help you shed those unsightly, unwanted pounds. FEMA, or Fatties Eating Mitigated, automatically has a communist-style weight loss czar that specializes in centralized weight loss planning and communal extended fasting programs to shed that fat away in no time. Skin and boned means extra toned is the motto. Just remember, there is no way you can do it on your own. We will forcefully assist you into compliance. Failure is not an option in this utopian wonderland. How fantastic. Typical workout regimes include digging ditches and restocking them with dirt, building railways and more. Get life skills while you get lean. How do you join? Simple. Recite the Constitution in a public commons, or violate the Patriot Act that includes simple misdemeanors. It's really that easy to get your own fenced-in slice of Americana. Stop being a fatty. The state is your daddy.
If you like what you are listening to, we appreciate your support. A small contribution from you, the listeners, can continue to help bring you such content and help keep things going here, even if it's just $1 a month. Keep in mind, though, in the spirit of prepping, we believe in redundancy, so it's better to have more than one, but every little bit helps pay the bills. Go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the Support the Show link. You can make a one-time or monthly contribution in any dollar amount. And again, thank you for your support and listening. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. Yes, folks, welcome back to Are You Ready Radio. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. I'm having a great time in the studio tonight with Maverick, special guest, man-at-arms on our neighborhood watch, and, yeah, you're listening to Are You Ready Radio. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper, and let's kill the music and move on, because I think I'm going to the hot seat next, aren't I? Oh, you don't like the commercial?
I don't like. I mean, granted, it's funny, but man, stop being a fatty. The state is your daddy. I mean, come on. I love being fat. I'm a cook, man.
You're a big man.
I ain't got a tractor tire, and I ain't afraid to show it.
You got that spare tire around your waist?
Oh, yeah. It's
Look
an
at that
Annie.
muffin top. It's way over the top.
It's just there. Hair and all. Man.
That is a... I kept that commercial. I moved it over with me. I kind of stole it.
You did?
Arr, I'm a content pirate. Arr.
I mean, are you paying any royalties or anything
with a blessing? No. I don't pay royalties. I pay my dues. The that was created by folks. If you listen to the other commercials in our reel, and I talk about them a lot on the show, some really great friends of mine that have a program called Counterculture Wise.
Oh, great show!
You've listened to it. Yeah, I know you love that show.
I listen to it when I play games.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, I heard they have a story coming up on their next episode.
Well, we were talking about that because you're the one that actually got the link.
Oh, I found it.
And we were talking about it, and I sent it to them, and they didn't get to it last week. But folks, if you ever, if you're listening to this show, make sure you listen to their show as well. It's Counterculture Wise on Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern on Spreaker. Just go to counterculturewiseradio.com. Max, Fritzy, and all that. Oh, thanks for that ringing endorsement. They're great folks.
I mean, I hope they do get to the story because it was just fascinating to read it. And all, I'm not going to really...
Don't give it away.
Oh, I'm not going to give it away.
You got to hear their show to get the story.
Oh, but let me just say this.
But I sent them the link.
It took 8 months for this woman to finally get arrested over it, and I'm just going to say one thing. This woman must needed a hug. In order to sit there and do this 576 times in 1 month. I mean, just trying to do the math on that broke our brains.
I know, it broke our brains. It took us about, literally...
30 minutes to try to figure it out.
Yeah, about a half hour. A good half hour to kind of figure out what's going on. I'm going in the hot seat during this last half hour, aren't I?
Oh, buddy, let me tell you. I've been waiting for this segment.
We've been teasing everybody about this, and he's going to... Maverick is here in the studio. He's going to test my surviving and prepper knowledge like he does every night when we hang out on Neighborhood Watch, and even before that, just grilling out and just chilling and kicking it. So let me get our... let me get the music here, and I know you wanted to do something cool on the microphone and all that. So, here we go.
Welcome to the hot set. This is the hot seat session where we're going to be able to ask Nick, the barefoot prepper, hot seat questions.
Oh, I'm on fire.
Oh, you are. You haven't even touched the Bible yet.
Oh, yeah, that'll open up like Bucci's burning pit in the backyard.
So, I will ask you as a disclaimer, though, you do swear to tell the truth about your things and everything like that, correct? And every single answer that you give is something through your training and everything you got, correct?
This is burning my hand. Yeah.
Okay.
I swear.
All right, let me get it away. Here's thing of ice. Here's thing of ice.
There we go. Got a nice bucket over there.
Oh, yeah. Put it there. Then
Bible's on fire.
I know.
We got a fire in the studio.
I know.
It's not the rack this time, for those of you that have heard this show before. And half of the compressor starts smoking in the middle of one of my shows once. I said, wait a minute, is the equipment smoking here? I said, I thought I was the only one that smokes in the studio.
Oh, apparently not.
No one else in here, and I'm like... Oh, that smells like an electrical thing.
We'll be right back.
Part of my compressor in the sound rack was went a little catty-wonka.
Yeah.
So it just decided to kind of take a turn for the worse, and I'm just like, what's going on down there? The compressor's just like, I'm on fire, So
As having a fiesta.
All right. Yes. I swear. I will tell the truth in everything in my answers, and you're testing my prepper survival knowledge. If not, I get hit by lightning. Okay.
Hey, watch it now. I got what you were on.
Okay. Oh, my God. His fingers are electronically charged.
I know.
All right.
All right. So, first question that is on the list here today is going to be this. Should Neighborhood Watch people, whether it be the captain or it be any of the other Neighborhood Watch people, should they be armed with firearms or any other kind of weapons to protect themselves, and why?
I think if you're qualified to use a weapon, depending on the threat, I think that everybody should be armed. I think it's their constitutional right to be armed if they're responsible and of competent mind to be able to carry a weapon. So, yeah. Is it necessary? I think it would depend on the person and the watch that you have set up. I think there can definitely be some legal ramifications for folks that are not qualified to carry weapons, and I think that with proper training, go ahead and carry weapons. I think that if any one member of the group questions their competency or their ability to be able to carry a weapon, then that should be addressed by whether it's the neighborhood watch captain or the community of the neighborhood watch as a whole. And there are other alternatives to firearms. So, is that?
That answers it.
Okay.
I mean, it's one of the questions that I was looking on, mostly of all these things that I've been doing studies for the neighborhood watch. A lot of people, especially in the cons as well as in the subjects of why one article was why neighborhood watches are just god awful terrible to have, is because there are some people that have the police officer mindset. They think that they are above the law and that they should be the law, and there are moments where people probably go too far with their firearms holding and everything. Like me and you, we carry.
Oh, yeah.
And we know in the state legislations as well as also gun laws and also what we've trained and know about how to fire our firearms, use our firearms and everything, that if it came down to a situation where we had to draw our firearms at any point, it would be only for the fact that either our lives or the person that we are protecting lives are in danger. We wouldn't pull them out willy-nilly just to sit there and have a good old time.
Mm-hmm. You know me, sometimes no one even knows I have it on me.
Oh, no, you hide them everywhere. I cannot wait to see TSA sit there and say, all right, sir, strip yourself.
It'd be like a scene from The Matrix. Please remove any metallic items you have on your body just looking at my face alone.
No, honestly,
never mind what's underneath the black trench coat.
Honestly, I think it would be more like The Mask, where they're sitting there searching him and they find a rubber chicken and all the other things.
I gotta have a couple little plants and props in there just to throw them off.
Oh yeah.
On another note with that, and you make a good point that you as a neighborhood watch, you're not a policeman, and I think that anybody that's properly trained to carry a firearm should carry a firearm. I think that if anybody's incompetent, has some freaking mental defect, that is not responsible, should not be carrying a firearm. And, I think it should be up to the group. I don't know if it should be majority or not. You don't want to isolate anybody, but yet at the same time, everybody has a constitutional right to carry if they're of sound mind to carry. And I would emphasize, if you are putting together an armed neighborhood watch, that everybody that's armed should probably go through the proper training for your state, go to a gun range, take a class, even if you're not getting your CCW, to be able to open carry if you're in a state. And of course, different states, cities, counties, towns, all that may have certain gun laws that you need to follow, and be mindful of the law. If you are an armed neighborhood watch, make sure that maybe the local law enforcement understand that and know who's who carries, and that they're familiar with your movement activity and your process and your purpose.
Going with the law enforcement background thing, we'll use that for our number 2 question of your hot seat.
Oh, okay.
Where do you draw the line between a constructive neighborhood watch organization or project or whatever to a uniformed militia?
Well, there is a big difference. Kind of like what you spoke about when it came to Detroit. When the police show up, everybody stops. They're not able to catch anything. Everything goes underground. A neighborhood watch, ununiformed, however well organized, is probably more effective because you're going to be able to observe what's really going on. It's almost like you're undercover, as opposed to well-organized or well-regulated militia, I should say would be the phrase.
Yeah.
So if you have a well-regulated militia, yeah, we could all sit here and say, okay, here's your duty belt, or here's your tactical vest, and it's going to be a black tactical vest, and we're going to wear a patch on the back that just says Neighborhood Watch. You become a target, too. Regardless of where your training is, you become a target. And if you look at what I do, my zombie walk, my tweaker walk, okay?
Yeah.
You like how this works.
I mean, I'm surprised you're not in Hollywood yourself.
Okay, I'm sitting exactly. I sit there having a cigarette, and I'm like, I should probably go on a tweaker walk. And I rip the tip off of it, so there's a half-smoked cigarette that I tuck behind my ear. I just shovel a shirt or something that I'm wearing.
Sometimes mine.
And I stagger around. Yeah, I don't like wearing shirts in the summer. And so I stagger down the street with a beer can in my hand. And if anybody approaches me, like, got a light, got a pill, got a light, got a light, got a cigarette, man. You know.
Got a pill.
Yeah, exactly. Everything they do to you.
Yeah.
And everything. And I just do the hunched over, staggered walk. The cops are watching this, loving it. They're just like...
And they know who he is. And it's
they
funny.
They know who I am.
Sometimes
and they know that I'm fishing.
Sometimes people will sit there and be like, man, he's the first guy I ever seen having an open container walking down looking like he's high off his butt with the cops walking by.
It's either closed or it's empty.
Yeah.
It's either closed or it's empty. Or it's Monster Energy drink in a beer can.
Oh, yeah.
Or sometimes just water because I'm thirsty.
Oh, yeah.
And this way I can pour it on myself being stupid in the clutch because I'm tweaked out or something. And I pull this fake tweaker, like, tweak zombie routine just to, like, start flushing them out.
Yeah.
And just start to do, like, the contact just to see who's who. You know, it's like an all operation, you know?
Yeah.
And I do the hunched over.
Yeah.
It's amazing. You know, I mean, yeah, the cops just look at this. I mean, it's like, it's just something fun they like to watch.
Yeah, it's the way they don't have to arrest.
They don't have to arrest me because they know that I know what I'm doing, and they're not too worried about me, period, because they know that I can handle myself, but they're there. If they are around.
Yeah.
They do show up.
Now, I will say, this question actually personally didn't come from me. It actually came from a friend of mine from Mississippi. Okay. Because when we were actually talking about how we were organizing our neighborhood watch for this area and everything, I told him, hey, we're going to be doing a neighborhood watch around here. I don't know if you guys have it, but what do you guys do down there? And he said basically they do what they did in Mayberry. Basically just called Aunt B or called Andy Griffith and sat there and said, hey, there's something going on or whatever. He says, what are you guys going to be doing? I said, oh, well, we're going to be doing patrols around our buildings and everything like that, and we're going to report it all and write it down and give it to law enforcement whenever they showed up and everything like that.
And then Barney Fife shows up.
That would be me. Not because I have one bullet, but because I'm good with it. But
anybody see a cop car around here?
Full tank of gas right there.
Next to
ticket number 62. But the reason I brought this question up was because he said...
full tank of gas in that? You bet we did.
You bet your sweet butt we did.
Where'd that come
from? Shell.
Barney, Andy's right next to you.
Oh, Bob.
Oh, Andy.
Andy.
Andy, are you in there? I'm sure Gomer Pyle will show up too.
Oh, golly.
Golly.
But the reason why I asked about the militia thing is he said, that sounds more like a militia. Why would you need to be armed and have all these things? And that also comes to another point. That's a second part
because
to this.
We're American citizens. We have a right to be armed according to the Constitution.
Dang right, America. But anyway, the second part to this question, because there's going to be a third one, but the second part to this question is, how much equipment is too much equipment? Because he sat there and said, are you going to be fully strapped to where you're going to be like a militia and have handcuffs and all these other things? Because then wouldn't you be impersonating a police officer? And I said, we're not going to be impersonating police officers. You are legally allowed to make a citizen's arrest. Now, in our state, I don't know how they are with actually obtaining and apprehending a subject by putting handcuffs on them. But I do know that we have the right to sit there and pretty much let my big old spare tire sit down on this guy while the cops arrive. Well, sorry, tractor tire.
You know, that's a very good question, especially from a legal standpoint. A citizen's arrest is very difficult in that context. As far as how much equipment is too much equipment, I think when your pants are dragging lower than the people you're observing, you have too much on you. At that point, maybe a tactical backpack may be best.
Hold on, let me get my taser out. It's in this bag somewhere.
Or you just do the poncho lefty thing, just wear your gun outside your pants for all the honest world to see.
Like I do.
So, exactly.
So then what would be the proper equipment for a neighborhood watch person to have then?
Honestly, the proper equipment is going to depend on the situation that you're preparing for. You look at, possible outcomes. What are you really up against? If you're up against, we'll say,
someone breaking into cars.
Maybe breaking into cars and just petty theft, stuff like that. Maybe having a lot of firepower on you isn't, necessary. I think that maybe arming yourself with maybe the camera app open on your phone all the time is. Being able to capture evidence, surveillance, record. There's no real threat to life. When you're dealing with heavy drug traffic, prostitution, a lot of suspicious activity where every time there's an interaction with the police, they're armed, then yes, you should probably take that to the level of I should be ready with a firearm, because an aspect you got to look at when it comes to neighborhood watch is you also become a target, and not looking like a target is key to being successful in what you're doing. The difference between if you see 100 people that are armed with tactical gear versus 3 people that are not armed, the 100 people with tactical gear, even though they look more intimidating, are the first people that are going to get taken down. It's a difference, what I call, between open carry and concealed carry, where if someone sees someone carrying a gun, maybe that's the first person they want to shoot before they shoot up the rest of the place. Versus there could be 100 people in there that are concealed carrying, but they're not going to be the first targets. Which is why I like the element of gray man, blend, and even disguise, and I have fun with it. I like to have fun with my little zombie tweaker walk. And sometimes you never know what information you may get from that. Maybe just contact with someone to understand what they're doing, their purpose there, where they're from. That information can be relayed later on. Gaining rapport with them, even though you're not necessarily interested in whatever they're doing. But you're almost like acting like an undercover detective, really. I don't think it's necessary to show and flaunt or look like, you're a well-armed militia or well-armed neighborhood watch. But a lot of neighborhood watches don't have the training that militias have.
Right.
So, you're dealing with every other husband and wife, couple, and even kids on the block that are just looking out and keeping eyes out. So.
Yeah. Well, that's a very good answer on that one right there, and I actually never would have thought about it that way. In all honesty, I would have not have thought about that. Now, with the recent events that have been occurring here, and how we spoke earlier in the show, how the law enforcement agencies around here have kind of gotten real lazy about how they do their patrols, and as well as just when they get bored, instead of actually going and just driving around, which, honestly, if they want to give me their job, I'll take it full wholeheartedly, because I wouldn't mind it.
Of course.
But where would you say would be the drawing line or the drawing point for the law enforcement agencies and the neighborhood watch communities to become a whole into working into a constructive and a productive, well, also with a lawful background? Because as we have, our law enforcement agency that we currently have around here is second-generation law enforcement, which means that the first generation of cops that patrolled for this city, their kids are now the cops. And it's every single cop that works for this actual entire community. So with that, like I said, where would the line be drawn for the police and the program, so that we don't have an incident like last night where U-Bout became Jimbo's new chew toy? Because if we were informed that that was going to happen, we would have treated the gentleman that was running around the back of the store as one of their training buddies. And we also would have known what was going on.
Yeah.
Not only that, they did not even contact to us or even talk to us after it was all said and done. They left and went somewhere else. And what was even more crazier was it was not even 15 minutes later where we sat there and called in about the suspicious vehicle.
Exactly.
And we didn't hear anything back for 45 minutes.
And dispatch eventually informed us that they're not dispatching anybody yet. No one's been dispatched because they had other things going on.
Right.
Which I get, but, I think there needs to be clear transparency and communication. I think that what was happening with the police last night was very odd, that they pick someplace they've never, ever, ever used before for canine training exercises. And they, even when approached, it was very vague, which we don't care. But, at least if information was relayed, they should have then said, well, keep your guy clear of that location because that's part of it, or,
Yeah. Because honestly, I thought he was going to be around the building. They
say that they're stepping up patrol, and then when you see them there and something suspicious is happening, is there something suspicious happening because of the training exercise? Communication is key.
Yeah.
And if they expect us, which is what they instructed us to do, is call. Every time, call. Don't stop calling. Give us something.
Yes.
Law enforcement needs something criminal.
They need probable cause.
Your landlord needs something civil. And we have more latitude than law enforcement or any party bound by a contract when it comes to civil matter and litigation. So, whereas we have the latitude when it comes to making an arrest, when it comes to stuff like that, okay, yes, there is a fine line where if you approach and they are violent, you have a right to detain to protect yourself. Okay? It doesn't necessarily mean they're under arrest. That's up to when the police get there to determine. There is a process that you have to go through when it comes to that. You can't just put a set of handcuffs on someone and beat them up. Okay? It's not BDSM, it's not bondage, it's not mutual, and nor is it legal if you do that. If your intention to detain someone and restrain them is to protect you because they're a threat, well, that's less than lethal force. That's an option you have. Just like if someone threatens you with a weapon or intends to do harm to you, you have a right to defend yourself. It's almost along the same lines. You can't cross a line. Just like if someone takes out a stick and is just being stupid and starts swinging it around like, I'm Jackie Chang, get out of here, I'm going to kill you. Technically, you have a duty to retreat. They gave you a warning. You can't pull out a gun and shoot them. It's the same thing.
I'm sorry, Jackie Chan, but I'm Clint Eastwood.
Great wall of weapons behind us.
Yes. It's pretty much the Stewie Griffin's closet right here.
I know, exactly.
Well, as we wrap it up here, I'm kind of very pleased. I've really enjoyed being here and the show and everything like that. Really, I just really hope that, the listeners that listen to the show understand that, Neighborhood Watch is a key importance to keeping the neighborhood safe.
Really
we see a lot on the news about, there's this kind of crime in the area. There's these kind of drugs and other things going on in this community, and it's killing our kids, it's killing our families and everything. Well, nothing is going to get done until action is actually done.
Oh, that's so true.
You cannot rely on politicians.
Yeah.
You cannot rely on the police themselves. That is why the Neighborhood Watch was created, because you really have to watch out not only for yourself, but also those around you. And if you really want a safe and secure community, then get involved.
And you should. And, Maverick, I'm glad you came on tonight. Thanks for being around.
Oh, I'm always around. Just call me a call.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know where to find you. We're always hanging out outside.
Oh, I know where to find you, too.
And, and you made a very good point there, because the police are not always going to be around. We discussed it in that June 8th episode that I referenced earlier on in the show, when the police don't show up. And it's always been kind of one of those things that, when they don't show up, what can you do? And, sometimes just your presence alone is enough, and, you're a deterrent. And the deterrent will sometimes, in most cases, be enough. Well, I hope that I helped you seriously think, prepare, and answer the question, are you ready? I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in and the support you give the show. Our guests, the callers, our friends in chat, listeners, clients, customers, everybody at the store, everything. Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also find us on the web at nickpiercemedia.com. Click on the program's link. Find us on your favorite podcast platforms and on our home on Spreaker. To contribute to the show, go to Nick Pierce Media and click on the Support the Show link. Are You Ready Radio is the official podcast of Zombie Outpost in Wilmington, Ohio, and is an NP Media Group production.